Good morning, YouTube. This morning is my first proper vlog. Not really done any talky vlogs before. Recorded a little bit of talking, but not made it onto YouTube yet. So what I want to talk about this morning is collapsed lungs and running. Not motorcycling or the crash compilation that I've just uploaded, but running. About this time last year I'd committed to running a half marathon. That sun's a bit evil. Yeah, I committed to run a half marathon. In a little bit of a if you do it, I'll do it bet wager with a friend of mine called Rich Leggett. And it was about this time last year that I started training for it. And started off reasonably well, getting up at stupid hours of the morning and running around the block a couple of times. And by about the middle of February, me and my girlfriend, on Valentine's morning, I know, romantic, isn't it? Got up at some ungodly hour to go for a run. And about 4.5k into our 5k loop, I had an awful shooting pain in my chest, just up around the collarbone. And for someone who had asthma as a kid, it didn't strike me as something that I had experienced before, and it got me a little bit worried because the pain wouldn't go away. And it got worse and worse, and we stopped at a little hotel that luckily happened to be nearby, and sat down, had a bit of a rest, and ended up calling an ambulance. So there we are, Valentine's Day morning, in our running gear at North London's finest A&E, at the Whittington Hospital in Archway. But just bear in mind that we were out in our running gear, and all I had with me was my keys and phone. Thankfully, the ambulance drivers took pity on us, and we swung by our flat so that my girlfriend could pick up, you know, some money, her phone, her keys, and some clothes, so that she could deal with life a little bit more easily. So there I am in A&E, and they take my stats, my blood ox is alright, and they take an x-ray, and yeah, I've got a pneumothorax, spontaneous pneumothorax, which is essentially a collapsed lung, which happens randomly to the statistical clustering of occurrences of pneumothorax thoraces in tall, young, fit males. And they're telling me this, and I'm obviously still in quite a lot of pain, and I'm like, well, I only really fit 2 of those criteria. I'm male, yeah, and I was 27 at the time, which I guess is still considered young. But I didn't really consider myself fit. I'd only been running for a couple of months, a bit of belly on me. I'd always been asthmatic as a kid, so never really felt that athletic per se. And I wouldn't really consider myself that tall. 5'10", it's kind of fairly average height. So yeah, anyway, it got me good and proper, and after I think 3 attempted aspirations, which is essentially where they get a massive needle, jab it into your chest and try and suck the air out to reinflate it. I did that 3 times, and that, yeah, not the most pleasant thing, but after that failed, they went in for the tube, where they go in between the ribs with an even bigger needle. Oh man, it was simply the most painful thing I've ever experienced. So yeah, that was my pneumothorax, and I spent a week in hospital. That was the 3rd week in February, and the run that I was training for, the half marathon, was on the 14th of March. So I was released from hospital, went home, took it easy for a little bit, but it was a charity thing, and I'd already got a whole load of sponsorship money and didn't really feel like I could just take the sponsor money and then not actually do anything for it. So kind of kept the training pretty limited and made it to the start line. Cheeky. Made it to the start line and bumped into Rich Leggett, so we were on the start line together. He was a lot fitter than me and blasted off into the distance once we'd all got going. I thought, I'm going to pace myself, you know, I don't want to start this half marathon and collapse with another collapsed lung after the first mile. So I took it easy. I walked the first lap of the course, which the course was at Silverstone Race Circuit, which is kind of part of the reason why I wanted to do it. Always been a big road racing fan, so the venue was half the attraction, that and raising money for charity. So I started the first lap of the circuit. I walked, which is about 3 or 4 miles, and you know, I got back round to the start finish line, and I was like, yeah, this doesn't feel too bad. I know, I'll jog the next mile. So very, very gently jogged the first mile, and then did alternate miles of walking and jogging, and yeah, I finished. I actually managed to get all the way around. 2 hours 39 was my time, which is a pretty crappy time if you're running it, but considering 4 weeks beforehand I'd been in hospital with a collapsed lung, I thought I did not too badly. I'm not going to fit through that. Anyway. So yeah, collapsed lung and running. So then after that, me and my girlfriend slowly got back into the training, and I think it was June or July, the bloody thing went again. Ended up spending another week in hospital. But doing that half marathon was fun, and raising the money gave me that warm fuzzy feeling, and it was for a bowel cancer charity which had bowel cancer has affected a lot of my family, so it felt like I'd done something good. Yeah, it's a bit weird talking with someone sat next to you at lights. So yeah, that's my first morning vlog. Oh, and part of the reason I'm doing this is that I've worked out a really good, easy way to attach the camera to my helmet, which doesn't involve duct tape. So yeah, I hope the levels on this are alright and you can hear what I'm saying. The sun isn't in the camera too much so you can see where I'm going. Generally hope that everything's fine, that I don't get hit before I get to work. That the camera hasn't randomly turned itself off. That I can manage to get around all this traffic. Yeah. Concentrate. Stop and search. Fun. A little bit of crime there for you. A bit of off-roading there on those bumps. Off-roading is... Bored of talking now. When I get to work. Got websites to make.